Oh, hi.
Hi.
We're here. Yay.
Yay.
And Kim, your hair looks so cute. Did you get it trimmed or?
Oh, thank you. I got it cut. Well, it was summer. Summer's coming, and I was sick of it, and I'm tired. I was tired of doing it, and yeah, that's it.
Super cute.
Super cute.
You wear it well.
Yes, you do. And Debbie, you had a good vacation?
It was very nice. I can't tell you how nice it was to be warm again. Andrea, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Gosh, I just felt I was being hugged by a warm hug the whole time.
Oh,
so that was really nice. And of course,
Aww.
now you see me, I'm back in the cold. It was cold all day today.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, it's chilly today here.
Yeah.
How about you, Andrea?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I can't believe we're in May already. May. It's already May.
I know. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
I know.
Feels like January and it's already May. What's going on?
I know.
And I just have to throw out a public apology to you all that were hanging out here last week on this channel. I forgot to post that we weren't coming on, and this was on, and you guys were waiting for us, and I apologize for that. Yeah.
Oh no.
I know.
Well, we better be extra good tonight then.
Yeah, so we do. I do. It was my bad because it was on my phone. I'm about to take this down. Oh boy.
And it was my fault. And you know what? I'll tell you something. Because we went to the mountains for a week. So we did the opposite. We went to the cold weather for a week, with Cassie and the fam and her fiance and Adam and I. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, you guys, is that, and I know this isn't a political show, but through all of Nevada and all of Utah, I maybe saw a handful of Trump stickers. A handful. Wow. Less than 5.
Good.
Wow.
So something is changing. Something is different. Yeah, that is Trump heavy country, let me tell you. So something's going on. You know, people are pulling away from that and all of the madness. So I just found that very, very interesting. Yeah, because I was bracing myself, thinking, okay, be calm, but nothing. Yeah, we saw maybe a handful. Yeah,
oh, wow.
Very few.
Well, I can tell you when I traveled, there was like 1 in 100 people wearing a mask. I was the one.
Wow.
Yeah, because they changed that, Andrea. They changed where you don't have to wear a mask on the planes and stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the weirdest thing coming home, because going there it was still mandated, so everybody was wearing masks.
Right.
When I was coming home, it wasn't mandated anymore. But I was both planes I got on, the row I was in, we all had a mask. It was the weirdest thing. It was like the 3 people in the entire plane that were wearing masks were in the same row. It was weird.
Well, that's comforting, though, I suppose.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it is. That is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, good for you for being responsible still. And you have to go for your comfort level. You know, if you're not comfortable, fine. If you come, yeah.
And and I didn't get any mask shaming.
Good.
My granddaughter asked me, she's like, Grandma, you don't have to wear your mask now, they said. And I said, well, there's still people who feel, I just said, I'm doing it because I'm respecting others and I'm taking care of myself. And she's like, oh, okay. So
yeah, whatever makes you feel good. I still wear mine at the stores, so.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. And I noticed that the cashiers, a lot of the cashiers are still wearing theirs. So I'm glad, even if it was just out of respect for them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But anyways, we digress. We're here to talk about 3 wonderful women coming in tonight. Yes. And but again, great to see you all. Good to be back. And and let's get going. So I feel like our first person tonight is Kim. I think it's no. Who is Alice?
I think that's
that's Andrea. Okay, Andrea, you're first.
I'm first. Okay. So this lady would have had a birthday last Monday, but many years ago. Princess Alice of the United Kingdom. So there she is. So she's this really fascinating character in history that I didn't really know too much about, because she's surrounded by so much epicness that you kind of know more about her relatives than you do about her. So Princess Alice was born Alice Maud Mary on April 25th, 1843 at Buckingham Palace. She is the daughter of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. So two names you certainly know, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. Her great-grandfather was King George III. Her brother was Edward VII. She is the mother, Alice is the mother of Empress Alexandra of Russia, the wife of Nicholas II, the Tsar of Russia, the family that was murdered. She is the mother of that woman. She had another daughter named Elizabeth, who married another Russian, and unfortunately, like Alexandra, she was also killed by the Bolsheviks in 1918. She's also the maternal grandmother of Earl Louis Mountbatten. You know that name as well. She's also the maternal great-grandmother of Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's husband. So has a ton of lineage before her, beside her, and after her, but I didn't really know too much about her. So Queen Victoria had many children, and 9 of them actually died. So Alice was unfortunately the first of her children to die and predecease her mother. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert favored a monarchy based on family values. So they were a tight family and a humble family. They were raised, Alice and her sisters were raised to wear middle-class clothing on a daily basis. They slept in sparsely furnished rooms and with little heating. So very humble. You live in a palace, but you're brought up humbly. Okay. She was fascinated with the world outside of the royal household. That's where she seemed happiest. She visited the tenants and the working quarters on the estates. She wanted to learn about other people outside of royalty and how they live. So she was very curious about this. And also on one occasion, she escaped from her governess at the chapel and sat in the public pews so she could better understand people who were not royals. So this young girl, Alice, was very curious about other people and what went on outside of the palace. She also, when she was 11 years old in 1854 during the Crimean War, if I'm saying that properly, at 11 years old, she toured the hospitals for wounded soldiers with her mother and her older sister. They say she was the most emotionally sensitive of all of her siblings and was very sympathetic to other people and their burdens. I'm guessing she was probably an empath, but we can check into that. She did show a keen interest in nursing, which went forward with the rest of her life. And she was really excited about the work of Florence Nightingale, inspired by this. So her compassion for other people's suffering established her as the role of the family caregiver in 1861. Her maternal grandmother, Victoria, Duchess of Kent, died at Frogmore, Frogmore Castle or Frogmore Cottage. That's the one Harry and Meghan were going to get, but they didn't want. So Alice's maternal grandmother passed away there, and Alice spent all of her time at her grandmother's side, often playing piano for her, and nursed her through all the final stages of her illness. Now, her father, Prince Albert, also fell ill in 1861, and Alice nursed him until his death. So if you remember, Queen Victoria is the one you always see wearing in black because she had a significant mourning phase after Prince Albert had passed away. So when her father passed away, Queen Victoria went into an intense period of mourning, and Alice spent the next 6 months acting as her mother's unofficial secretary and the physical representation of the monarch. So for a while there, she was essentially the queen without really saying it, because her mother was incapacitated with grief. So through her passed all her mother's, the queen's official papers and government forms. The ministers would come and visit with her while the queen secluded herself from public life. The Queen Victoria probably had one of the heaviest mourning periods of anyone popular. Maybe have we read on her? I don't know if we have Queen Victoria.
I don't know.
I think we did, actually. I think we may have.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds very familiar.
Okay, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
So Princess Alice, caregiver to the family, this sort of humble young woman, taking care of her grandmother, her father, now taking care of her mother's needs because her mother's in mourning. During this time, the queen acknowledged that her daughter needed to get married. She was coming of an age. So Prince Louis of Hesse, who was a minor German royal and nephew of the Grand Duke of Hesse, was suggested. They met. Mother was happy, allowed this to happen. So she got married. But this happened during what was still a mourning stage for her mother. And it was quite the sad event. Her mother was surrounded by her children, so people wouldn't see her cry, but they were crying as well. And the wedding was said to be the saddest royal wedding in modern times. And it was more of a funeral than a wedding. So very, I just feel this heavy cloud over this poor girl.
Her wedding, right?
Alice's wedding. Yes.
Yeah. If you see her face, look at her face in all these pictures.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no, I searched for a picture of her smiling. Yeah. No, there's zero pictures of her ever smiling.
I found her so fascinating because, again, here's someone who you think has everything. She's the queen, the princess of the Queen of England, of the United Kingdom, and she's very sad. She does not have this glamorous life. So she moved with her husband, but because he was a lesser royal, he couldn't afford a house that would be befitting of the daughter of Queen Victoria. So that was a little bit of a sticky issue, not for her, but for him and the others who felt, are we supposed to do more than that? We can't. They even had a very humble house. They were given a house in the old quarter, which actually overlooked the street. They could hear carts rumbling through the house's thin walls. I mean, completely different than living in a castle. However, Alice seemed to really like it. And as we know, she likes to know about other people. So this was actually probably a nice setting for her. When the Austro-Persian War started, the city that they lived in, there were tons of injured coming in, and Alice was heavily pregnant and devoted almost all of her time managing the field hospitals. She even created an organization, the Princess Alice Women's Guild, to overlook much of the day-to-day running of the state's military hospitals. As a result of all of this, her mother was concerned about Alice's directness in the medical field, and in particular, her interest, she studied everything. She wanted to know about everything, even gynecological matters. And in 1871, she wrote to her daughter, her other daughter, not Alice, her other daughter, Louise, "Don't let Alice pump you. Be very silent and cautious about your interior." Well, Queen Victoria was probably a little bit of a prude, what we might say. You don't talk about those things. You don't look at those things. But her daughter, Princess Alice, was just fascinated with all of nursing and wanted to learn. So
your
her
interior.
your interior, I know. So her relationship with her mother became a little bit more difficult, and it would continue that way until her death. As well, her decision to breastfeed her newborn daughter upset her mother, who was against breastfeeding. And they also feel the queen was maybe a little bit more upset about Alice because she was realizing that Alice was finding true happiness. Right? She lived in a modest home. She was doing nursing. She was having children. And she realized that her daughter was becoming happy and probably wouldn't visit as much anymore to see her mother. So more sadness for this poor lady. In 1873, her youngest and favorite child, Frederick, called Friddy, died. He fell out of a window, and he was he had hemophilia. So he survived the fall, but he didn't survive the internal bleeding. And they said Alice never quite bounced back from that. Now it gets worse. So when was that? Was in 1873. So 5 years later, in 1878, the whole household she lived in with her children and her husband fell ill with diphtheria. So her oldest daughter, Victoria, was first to get sick, and diphtheria was diagnosed the following morning. And soon the disease spread through all of her children, except for one child who wasn't home at the time. So, and her husband as well got sick. Her daughter, Elizabeth, was the one who was...
Is that like turbulent
diphtheria? TV? I'm not sure what kind of...
I feel like it's similar to TB, but that doesn't matter. It's okay.
So, so her children are sick and her husband are sick, and she's nursing them all. Her one daughter, Marie, got really sick on November 15th, and Alice was called to her bedside, but the daughter passed away. She kept that secret from the other children. She didn't want the other children to know that their sister had passed away from the disease because she probably didn't want to scare them or make them upset. But eventually she told Ernest, her son Ernest, in early December. So they're still sick like a month later. She told him a few weeks later, and his reaction was basically way worse than she expected. He totally got hysterical and crying and all of this. And this is the only time she broke her rule about physical contact with the ill. And she gave her son a kiss to calm him down, and a kiss and a hug to calm him down. And then she got sick. I mean, what a tragedy. So in her compassion, she broke one of her rules and she got ill. Not only did she get ill, but she passed away from the disease. She passed away on the exact same day her father died, which is really strange.
Wow.
Right? And threw her mother into another tailspin. Her mother writing Queen Victoria saying, my precious child who stood by me and upheld me 17 years ago on the same day taken and by such an awful and fearful disease. She had her father's darling nature and much of his self-sacrificing character and fearlessness and entire devotion to duty. Yeah, and apparently her last words were, "Dear Papa." So he was probably there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just this incredible story. And I didn't know too much about her because, like I said, you know everyone around her, but maybe not so much about her.
Right.
And so with her nursing and her giving and her love, she founded the Alice Hospital to treat the city's sick and wounded. And that continued and flourished long after her death. She also established the Alice Society for Women's Training and Industry for the purpose of educating women, and the Princess Women's Guild, an organization devoted to training nurses. So I think she did a lot and went through a lot. And I think it's a fascinating story.
It certainly is. And diphtheria is not the TB. It does, you do have fatigue, chills, fever, the respiratory issues, shortness of breath, rashes, ulcers, hoarseness, difficulty swallowing, coughing, muscle weakness, runny nose, swelling, lymph nodes. They have, that's one of our vaccines that we get, right? For that.
To wipe that out, yeah. So just so you know, you think you're Queen Victoria's daughter, a princess, and she had the almost an opposite life as a princess. You know, what we would consider
not pampered, very service oriented. How old was she when she died, Andrea?
Oh, sorry. Let's see. She lived from 1843 to 1878, so 35 years. 35 years. Wow. Wow, that's no time at all.
No.
And to go through so much.
Yeah, she lived quite a lot of life in that amount of time. You know, when she would be considered like a sociologist. That would be very interesting to her.
Yeah, she was definitely an empath for sure.
Very much so.
I think she may have had some other gifts. I'm getting a yes on that. Which would make more sense, because she wouldn't, you know, to be confined in a castle, living a regal life, she would never been able to fulfill her calling to be a nurse in the field, right? I don't think she would have been able to.
She's showing me that when she was little, kind of always daydreaming what other people were, what their lives were like, what they were living, what they were doing, which played out with that one story of her in church. But she's saying that she was kind of always wondering what it was really like in their life.
Which leads to her compassion and empathy, you know, connected to humans. She seems very lovely, even though she has such a sad face.
Yeah, I'm questioning that.
So she's showing me herself at, I mean, that's why I was asking what age she is. She looks like late teens is the way she's showing herself, maybe 19, 20. She's in white and she has bare feet, which is, I'm looking at, to me, I feel like I feel like this was a life of service, but I also feel like there's something about the bare feet that makes me think that she didn't need frills. She didn't need that stuff. She didn't need that pampering, and that she was kind of born a little bit, to me, it almost feels like she's born kind of grounded. She kind of was grounded in her own, comfortable in her own skin. And she was very, it was very easy to give of herself because she didn't, she also, to me, didn't feel like she really cared much what people thought. When she felt she needed to do something or driven to do something, she did it. It didn't matter. She never thought of herself as like, oh, I'm royal, so I can't do this. Everything was very, to me, seems like she was who she was. She didn't really apologize for it. She she felt moved to serve, and that's what she was there to do. The bare feet, though, what does that say to you guys?
Humble,
to me,
grounded.
Yeah, humble, grounded. Exactly.
So. And she's showing me that very early on that she was seeing abuses towards people. Like she's showing me, someone there scrubbing like the stairs or the ground, and abuses towards that person. And she was very small at the time when she's taking this in, and she doesn't understand like what that doesn't make sense to her. Like she wanted to get down and help this person who apparently was having a hard time because of their age or something. She saw that there was some difficulties because of something physical. And these are things that she continued to take in and see and saw discrepancy here. And she's we are no different. Why, why is this separation? We are no different. And so I feel like when you're talking about the bare feet with her, shoes back then, she's saying shoes represented differences in classes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Entertainment purposes only. That's what she's showing me. It kind of shows your wealth, right? Your shoes, the type of shoes, how many shoes, if you have shoes. And so her showing you without the shoes, she's saying, I am like you. I am like, we are all the same. We are all one, type of thing. And she, before her time, I'm telling you, she was absolutely before her time in all that, seeing that the separation of classes, and she didn't agree with it at all. She felt it was wrong.
Yeah. And as Kim was saying, she's pretty strong and tenacious because her mother was the friggin' queen, like so much bigger. And she would go against her in the sense that she believed in breastfeeding. She didn't care. She was open to talk about gynecological, I can't even say the word, gynecology. These types of things that her mother would have, I'm sure, fainted at the very word of.
Don't talk about your
interior. So I got two cards, perception and wisdom. So I'm sensing from this, it's, the key to wisdom, or a lot of, smarts can come from how do you look at things? That's kind of the key to success. How do you look at the situation? So she was a princess in a castle. Then she moves to this like house on the street where she can hear the carts rolling by, but she was happy. That was her perception. She didn't have to think, oh, I'm lacking. Oh, I married a lesser royal. All of these things, that's a very wise way to look at the world, which we know, and we don't always get it right, but we try. So I do think she's very smart, ahead of her time, and definitely an empath, 1,000%.
1,000%.
Yeah.
She was, and it's funny that you just said that, because she was letting me feel some of the things that she carried, and a lot of sadness and grief and injustice, and she's saying, I feel I did my part to try to bring in some sort of awareness and change with that. She felt she was called by God, that position, that it was meant to be.
And setting up those places to heal the wounded and to train the nurses, because she knew it was important for women to learn these things and, help other women with their interiors, etc. So really I just feel like she's this demure, quiet little sweetheart who just immense tragedy, but maybe it's the way she looked at everything that helped her get through it all, right? And this kind, generous soul that we don't really know too much about because everyone else around her was so big. But she's really like she's like the nice jewel in the crown there, right?
Yeah. Those cards, it goes along with the message she has for everyone, which is to lean into, because she's like, everybody is going to experience tragedy at some point. Everybody will. If you're alive, you will. And she's saying, so when you have those happy times, the good times, lean into those as well. So and lean into being, she's saying, into kindness and compassion. Don't be afraid to do that. It's so important while we're here to care and be compassionate to each other, because we're all going to be going through things at different times, and it's so important to be there for each other. But when you have a good time, she's like, lean into that, lean into the happy stuff. So as far as like, how did she get through those dark times? I think she's saying, like, she leaned into all of it. So she was able to, she leaned into the good as well when those good things happened.
It's just such a juxtaposition. I love this kind of story. Well, I don't love it, but I mean, I love to learn from it, where you have someone who's a princess of United Kingdom, and you couldn't be further from the truth with what her life was actually like. You'd think it would be diamonds and tiaras and tea parties and dances and whatever it is that they do. She didn't, and she was very happy and very giving and very loving. And I'm so glad she got that opportunity to be that person.
And somebody's asking you if any of the family survived the diphtheria, if any of her family survived.
I think they did. I think the one child died first and then she died, but I don't think the rest died.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I guess it attacks your...
It's like a respiratory, isn't it?
Yeah, it attacks your lungs, kind of like COVID, maybe.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Yeah. So she said she does not regret giving her son that hug.
I got the same thing, Debbie, that she did not regret that at all.
No.
She would have done it again.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Just an excellent example of a person and of a mom and of a sister and a daughter and all of those things she was to everyone.
So I'm asking her for a message, and she said, I am you. I am you. You are me. You know what I mean? We're connected. We're all human. Remember that. Because putting a difference between you and another person can be invisible or silent, or, you know, you're not speaking it, but in actions it can, can create that that different level situation. I feel like she said, start teaching the children young about that separation. You can go to any elementary school and see it happening, where it begins there, and you can see it playing out on the playgrounds and in the classrooms. Kids are doing it to each other. Start teaching them the truth.
Right. Yeah. Fascinating lady.
She is.
Really fascinating.
Great lessons from her. Yeah. All equal. Take care of everyone. Help where you can. Be your authentic self.
I'd love to just sit down and in life and have a conversation with her, because I feel like she has so much wisdom.
Yes.
So thank you,
Princess Alice.
Alice. She's like Alice. All right. So let's go ahead and okay, Kim, you are next.
I am next, and I picked Georgia O'Keeffe, the artiste.
Did I spell that right, Georgia?
I think so.
Okay. Yep.
That's right. So she was born in 1887, November 15th, 1887. She passed March 6, 1986 at the age of 98. Is that right? 98? I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Nice long life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I spelled O'Keefe wrong. Thank you, Heather.
Okay, I was going to say that might be TFs, yeah. She is known for her enlarged flower paintings, New York skyscrapers, and New Mexico landscapes. And she is called the mother of American modernism. I'm so drawn to her art for her color. She just does amazing things with color. In 1905, she went to art school, the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and she began working as a commercial illustrator. Which I can't imagine. I can't imagine her working for somebody else, actually. She just seemed to have such vision, with her work. I can't imagine that, but she did. 1912 to 1914, she did that, and she was introduced to principles and philosophies of Arthur Wesley Dow, who created works based on personal style, design, interpretation of subjects, and he kind of did things rather than copying them. He kind of did his own representation, and it changed the way she looked at art and did her own art and felt about art. And this helped her find her own style. She moved to New York in 1918 and began working seriously as an artist. And the two of them, Arthur and she, developed a professional relationship, but also a personal relationship, and they were married in 1924. They lived together in New York until 1929. And then she began living in the Southwest part of the time. And that, again, was another change in her kind of artwork. She did a lot of things with skulls. She has her a lot of the cow's skull, the red, white, and blue, the ram's head. She just had a lot of things that were very, and you can see her with the skull behind her in that one picture. Was very, very intrigued and inspired by the things that she saw in New Mexico. And she had a home and a studio in Santa Fe, and that's where she lived the last years of her life. In 2014, O'Keeffe's her 1932 painting Jimson Weed White Flower #1 sold for $44 million.
Holy cow.
Wow.
More than 3 times the previous world auction record for any female artist.
Wow.
After her death, the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum was established in Santa Fe, and she got the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1977, the National Medal of Arts in 1985, and the Edwards McDowell Medal in 1972. So just an amazing, amazing artist. You can see, I mean, just her pictures, just kind of a dramatic, she had a very dramatic flair for life, I think, in general, and completely dedicated to her art. I always think of that as being, it's such a gift when you know exactly what you're here to do. Do it.
Yes.
It's also a tremendous, I think, burden, because if you're not successful at it, or you don't think you live up to it, then it can be a tremendous burden. But I mean, she really, really dedicated herself completely to her art, and also found the right her husband and where she lived were really her muses, I think, for her art and how it changed and developed over time. So that's Georgia O'Keeffe, and very interesting lady, and actually kind of a quiet life, not a lot of drama, just a life dedicated to her art.
Mm-hmm. That's a great life.
Exactly. And tremendously, I mean, talk about successful. I mean, it's a lot of money to pay for a painting. So, but when I was writing about her, when I was getting her information together, she kept showing me just her inspiration for flowers and how it that it kind of represented so many things to her. That flowers represented, the beauty in life itself, women, but also her love of color. Just always trying to kind of push the envelope, I guess, a little bit with color, and how long it would take her to find the perfect kind of colors, and that she would use. So that was something that came across as just kind of as I was doing, getting her information ready. She kept showing me these images. And yeah, so what do you guys think? And it looks like a lot of people in the chat is.
Yeah, the chat, they're talking about her.
They're very familiar with her.
Yeah.
She is, she said, I lived authentically to who I was. And she's encouraging, she knows that, society doesn't set it up that way. And so she's encouraging everybody to do the best they can to live authentically to who you are. Change that narrative. She lived her truth. And got she did get pushback in her life. She got pushback. She wasn't always accepted in circles. All these things happen that, aren't part of the outright story, she says, but it did not waver her to live her authenticity. Authenticity. That's the word she keeps using. The authenticity is super important. No regrets. If you don't want regrets, live your authentic self. Do you have the ice cream man there?
I do. Do you want some ice cream? Every day about this time, it just, you're going to hear that music. I'm sorry.
It makes me want to have an ice cream.
I'll go run for it, Debbie.
I want a drumstick with it.
Oh, a drumstick.
Yes.
Sounds delicious. Yeah, it's going to get louder too.
So yeah, Debbie, while you were talking, so I did get the rejection card. So how did she push through? With faith and love. Faith in herself, love for herself, love for what she was doing, and just trusted. Like, how beautiful is that? You don't have to listen to this. You don't have to listen to rejection. Mm-hmm. And you just said a painting sold for $44 million. Can you imagine rejecting her in the past?
Right.
It looked pretty foolish.
Artists are, you think that these artists are like beautiful and free loving and we love you and come here. They're brutal to each other. She said they can be really mean and brutal to each other.
Competitive, yeah.
Again, getting the strength card. I love her face, especially her nose. She's got a really strong nose.
Yeah.
She's a very strong lady. Obviously we see it here with the strength card, but a strong, beautiful butterfly. Yes.
Do you know, Kim, if she had any connection to Thoreau, the philosopher? She's brought that up.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
there's an influence.
Studying philosophy, so that would make sense.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Because there's an influence. There's a connection. There's some kind of influence. He influenced her life through what he wrote or experienced or something. But there's some sort of influence with him. Thoreau.
Thoreau.
I'm trying to remember what he was into. I think he was into nature, right? He found God in nature.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So that's that.
He found God in nature. Yeah.
I get that she was clairvoyant as well.
Interesting.
Clairvoyant. And Love Peace said earlier apparently she liked to paint flowers because models cost too much and flowers didn't move either. So you could paint them and they didn't move and they didn't cost much.
And she's also saying that she didn't, people would say flowers had something to do with sexual things, and she's saying she was when she would paint the flowers, it's like she would merge with them. So she's saying it was more spiritual for her. It was not it didn't have anything to do with that. And so she's saying that it was she would bring out the spirituality in them, in nature, or in the flower. And it's almost like, she's like, I would merge with it and become one with it. And that's how I would that's how I would paint them. It was like I was merging with it. I'm glad I understood it on a different level.
Yeah.
So she's like, stop. Don't like, almost like, don't say that. Stop
saying that's so funny. I'm glad you said that.
Spiritual.
I'm looking at these flowers. I'm like, oh my gosh, a bunch of vaginas, but apparently not.
No. Interiors.
Interiors. It's not about the interiors. She was.
Interiors. That's so funny because everybody.
Yeah, Love Peace is saying again, eroticizing her work is a way to diminish the power. So take away from her by making it sexual.
Interesting. Okay. I thought it was beautiful. I'm like, oh yeah. Beautiful. Anyway, so well, let's see.
She's also liking the contrast of life and death. She's saying the flowers with life, and then the skulls and stuff with that kind of contrast. She really loved that. She loved the contrast in that in her work. And she loved angles, things about angles. I don't know. She's just showing me like almost like geometry, like different angles.
Very quiet person, though. Quiet.
Yeah. Seems very, yeah.
She had some anxieties. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes sense to her not wanting to do the live models too. Yeah, that safety and that feeling at home with the the nature and stuff like that. She felt much more comfortable and at ease. I think humans gave her anxiety.
She works slowly too. She's saying she did not like to be rushed or work quickly, be under pressure of any kind. So maybe that goes with the anxiety as well, because it's kind of like I like to work at my own at whatever pace I wanted. I didn't want to be pushed or rushed. So she worked slowly. She had some issues with her husband, though. Some trust issues with him. I don't know what this is, but she really loved him. But she had some trust issues with him. You think, yeah.
She had alone time at the end of her life where she lived alone.
Yeah.
She did that. She's like, she did the alone time well. She's saying that he was a player.
Oh, her husband was a cheater. There you go.
She used the word player, and she did alone well. She loved that time in her life.
I asked if she knew she was going to be famous, and I got no. She just painted what she loved. She just did what she loved. It wasn't about fame or anything like that. That's just what followed. But that again is someone when you are your authentic self and doing what you're supposed to be doing, abundance does follow most times, one way or the other, whether it's personal life, emotional, spiritual, or financial, it finds you. She's really cool, man. She's someone I'd like to sit down and talk with.
Yes.
Very cool vibe, very quiet, calm, smart,
spiritual,
very observant.
Both of these ladies are very gentle spirits. Both of them very gentle. But they have definitely, you know that they have strength there for sure. But they come across as very gentle, and kind, very, like you said, you'd want to be a friend. You'd want them as a friend.
And modest as far as, like modest. It didn't need all the bling bling.
Right.
Yeah.
There's different ways that, we perceive strength in our society. And they are much stronger than any other ways that we consider, if someone's a billionaire or, all these false ways that people think that they're strong or have been. These women are extremely strong, but they're very quiet and gentle, so you don't notice it. But that is the strength.
Right. Well, being authentic, being yourself, whether, that is a strength all its own. Being able to just be who you are and do what you're here to do, what you believe you're here to do.
Yes.
And to keep doing it.
Yes. Very, very lovely energies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Tracy says they both carry a strong energy of knowing what is important. I think that's right. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
And I think with both of those women doing that, they really paved the way for other women coming behind them, showing that example, being that example and pushing through. Absolutely. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool energy. Really cool.
Really, really awesome energy.
She's handing Kim, she's handing you a flower.
Oh.
Like a daisy.
I will take it. I will take it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, flower. I love that. Thank you, George. All right. So I guess that leaves me. I'm next. And my person is Maija Stewart. Let's go ahead and bring her name up. Maija Stewart. Wow. Okay, so let's get into the story. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I got to set this up, you guys. Oh, where is there it is. Okay. As we look at Maija Stewart here. Oops. Maria Stewart, I think her born name, maybe we have Miller. Maria Miller was born in 1803 in Hartford, Connecticut. And she died December 17th, 1879. 75, 76, it says. She was a teacher, a journalist, a lecturer. She's known as the abolitionist. I can't.
Abolitionist.
Thank you. I can't speak tonight. Hang with me, guys. I can do this. Women and women's rights activists. She was married to James Stewart for a few years. He died. They were married in 1826, but he died in 1829. So not long.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So she was born a free-born African American in 1803. So that was that's something right there. Who became a teacher and a journalist, lecturer, abolitionist, and a woman. Right. She was the first known American woman to speak to a mixed audience of men and women, white and black. She was also the first African American woman to make public lectures, as well as to lecture about women's rights and make a public anti-slavery speech. I mean, the Liberator published 2 pamphlets of Stewart's, Religion and the Pure Principles of Morality, the Sheer Foundation on Which We Must Build, which advocated abolition and Black autonomy in 1831. And another of religious meditations from the pen of Mrs. Marie Stewart in 1832. In February 1833, she addressed Boston's African Masonic Lodge, which soon ended her brief lecturing career. Interesting. Her claim that Black men lacked ambition and requisite courage caused an uproar among the audience, and Stewart decided to retire from giving lectures. 7 months later, she gave a farewell address at a schoolroom in the African meeting house called Paul's Church. After this, she moved to New York City, then to Baltimore, and finally Washington, D.C., where she worked as a school teacher and then head matron at the Freedmen's Hospital, where she eventually died. She made public anti-slavery speeches often. She was the first African American woman to make public lectures for which there's still surviving copies of this. Stewart referred to her public lectures as speeches and not sermons, despite their religious tone and frequent Bible quotes. African American women preachers of that era, such as Rayne Lee and Julia Foote and Amanda Berry Smith, undoubtedly influenced Stewart, and Sojourner Truth later used a similar style in her public lectures. Stewart delivered her speeches in Boston to organizations including the African American Female Intelligence Society. Okay, so David Walker, a proposed clothing shop owner who was well-known, outspoken member of the General Colored Association, also influenced Stewart. He helped with tenants and controversial things, race relations. He was he kind of partnered up with her, and he led the Boston African American Enclave. He wrote that. Anyways, in 1830, he was found dead outside his shop. And this was just 1 year after Stewart's husband had died. These events precipitated born-again spiritual experience for Stewart. She became vocal and militant advocate for Africa, freedom, and God's cause. So you remember at this time, there were people still during this time, they were still enslaved. There were still slaves, and she was stepping out like this. I mean, it's amazing. And then there's a lot of her writing that you can find. As she traveled, she was shocked at what she was seeing. So she also addressed when slaves were freed, the appalling conditions they were living in after being freed, and so forth. So she would bring that to light in her speeches and her writings. So I am hoping to get some more, talk to her and go, thank you, and say thank you. Number one, that she was bringing this to light then as a Black woman during the time of slavery and so she was a womanist. I mean, she was also women's right and all of that. I mean, just the
strength of
the courage, that she had.
So she's sitting, for me, she's sitting with a Bible on her lap. So the Bible was in this lifetime for her, this was her, it was her reference book. It was a reference book for life. She, and she, it bothered her that it didn't, I shouldn't say that. It concerned her that people didn't know really. She was trying to help people understand what to do with their freedom. They didn't understand what to do with their freedom. She wanted to help them. She felt sometimes it would be wasted because it was as if they were free, but like now what do we do? Where do we go? What are we supposed to, it was like learning to live, really, having to build your own life. It wasn't something that people just naturally did. It needed to be helped and taught, and she was trying to do that for people. And she's saying it didn't always come across as it could be insulting to people, is how she's putting it, and particularly to men. They would be insulted by some of the things that she would offer, but it really was just to help people to know what to do with their freedom and how to put it to the best use that they could. It was very, very well intentioned, and she's kind of like, I always had the best of intentions. I really wanted to help people to make the most of the life, a free life that they could. But that's how she's putting it. But the Bible was very, very important to her. It's the first thing she's showing me, is just sitting with the Bible. in her hands. So in this lifetime, that was her manual for life was the Bible.
And she's also saying she was using their own weapon back at them. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, they used the Bible to enslave people, but she used it back against them as well. But it was truth to her. That was her rock, her solid rock there, her relationship. So she has me looking at this, and for those of you who can't see the screen, if no one, this is one of her quotes. If no one will promote or respect us, let us promote and respect ourselves. Now, she's saying this in 1831. We are in 2022. When are we? We're in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, I'm okay, everyone. It's okay. We're in 2022.
You're fine, Debbie.
I'm just
You're good.
Like, what in the world? So let me go ahead and
I love the card I got for her is it says release.
Mm.
So I was asking questions about it, and her purpose was to help people get released from slavery, all of this. That was her purpose. She literally found her purpose in releasing others. I can't imagine. I mean, that is ultimate. That is such an ultimate thing to do, to help people be free. It's so incredible. And that she had that calling for it, and very religious. Yes. Very, very, I want to say chaste, but very, very religious. But that's what helped her.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. It was her rock. It was her strength.
It was her rock. And she was helping people be set free, releasing them from their captivity. And I think that sentence could also be for women too. If they're not, what was the thing? If they're not singing our praises, we'll sing our own or something.
Yeah. If no one will promote or respect us, let us promote and respect ourselves. I feel like that message has come over and over again. But
yeah.
How beautifully said here that she put it like that. Yeah.
And it goes to all the underdogs. It goes to the gay community, or people of color, or women, or anyone. If they're not saying good stuff about you, you could do it yourself.
Yeah.
Excellent message.
Mm-hmm.
She was also showing me often. She's showing me these little bits and pieces, scenes of having to hide. Running and like hiding, and so I feel too that she had to live with her life being threatened a lot.
Oh yeah.
However, that being said, she also felt. She's telling me about Daniel in the lion's den, and that how she held that Bible story in her heart. She lived in the lion's den, and she was protected, she said. Mm-hmm. So with that, and that connection to, she truly, and that's why you see her with the Bible. She truly lived that truth, that she was fully protected in the lion's den. She considered this experience the lion's den.
And once again, a woman who feels so humble.
Yes. Yeah.
Such humility. Because she had a lot to share, and she knew a lot. She was a very, very smart lady that knew exactly what she was talking about, but did it in such a humble way.
And that's sort of all the women tonight reminding us to be humble, yet strong, right?
Exactly. Well, and humble doesn't mean hiding under hiding your light. It doesn't mean that. It just means, sharing in a way that is that pulls people in rather than repels them,
Not being boisterous and
Exactly. Yeah.
just leading by example is probably a really good way to describe these three women. Leading by example.
But I mean, you can tell she's just was filled with knowledge and love. She's also saying she loved to read. I mean, I know that, like I said, she came in with the Bible on her lap, but I feel like she loved to read, and felt it was such a, never took it for granted that she had an education, never took it for granted that she could read and write. She met so many people who, and she felt, again, okay, that education was the equalizer, that people, they needed to learn how to read and write and be able to, be educated. She's saying it wasn't, at the time, that was not especially among slaves that were coming out, and they kind of wanted to get into things where they could earn money, but they didn't really care about reading and writing as much. It wasn't that wasn't really. She's like, I understand that. I understand wanting to earn, but she said it's such a gift to be able to read and comprehend and understand other people's ideas. It makes you such a well-rounded person. So she really pushed for people to learn to read and write, but it didn't appeal to everybody at the time, she's saying.
She said reading and reading is freedom. You know what I mean? That knowledge and being able to read, it just opens up. And that's what she was trying to open up, that because if someone else can read and you can't, it's something they can hold over you and manipulate you, because you don't know really what's said.
She was also very observant. Like, she knew what was going on behind her. She knew who you were when you walked in the room. She could figure this all out. And it was, especially when she was older, this little lady, religious little older lady, they might dismiss, but she never was not observant and didn't notice everything. And she may not say it at the time. She might keep it inside just to have for later. But I see her just like, she noticed, she knew everything. She was very observant. You wouldn't get too much past her. And
she absolutely was a prayer warrior. Everything she would put into prayer. Because if I was to come visit you, show me what that would look like. And she's showing me like, just kind of like a very nurturing, but like, she's praying for me, you know what I mean? It would be like, let me pray for you, like, type of thing. Believed in the power of prayer. And she said, I moved mountains when I was here. I moved mountains. I was told that I could move mountains, and I did. And she did.
And she did.
Mm-hmm. Well, we need her right now. We need her to move mountains for us right now.
Mountains move still.
We need her help.
We still need those mountains.
Well, and the power of one, there is, you do have power. Everyone, all of us, you can make a difference today, tomorrow, whenever. You can do it. Look at what these ladies have done tonight. And they're all very gentle. That's what's so great about, they're all so gentle. Just really soft and gentle, yet so strong and tough, but not in the ways that we think of those words.
Exactly. Thank you, Tracy. she's liking this show. So she just to say it. Thank you, Tracy.
I'm just so honored.
Yeah, amazing.
And all the ladies, like you said, it's just a very, very humbling, but powerful. Like even in that place, even in that humble, we don't have to be powerhouses. We can come from that space and still, like Maria says, move mountains. So
yes,
I think that's part of the message. You know, in this day and age of the Trumps and the Elon Musks who have to sing their own praises constantly, or in your face constantly about how awesome they are and what they can do, you know, and even if they've done incredible things, they've got to let you know about, you know, there's no humility there, and there is power in being humble about the things that you accomplish and the things that you do. And like you said, Andrea, being an example, you know, that speaks to, you know, that speaks so many words, because if you have to say it all the time, then there's something
to broadcast how awesome you are. Are you really awesome?
Are you really awesome? Really? But I think for this day and age, we see this constant barrage of self-promotion and self-congratulations. It's so nice to hear from three ladies who did amazing things in their lives, led amazing lives, like you said, moved mountains, accomplished so much, and did it with such grace and humility. It's so refreshing.
And we would be proud to know them.
Yes.
To them.
Yes.
They're great examples.
Exactly.
To how to live and who to be. Just incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible ladies tonight.
Yeah.
So thank you, family, again for hanging out with us on this Monday night.
Maria. Yes.
And thank you, Maria. Yes. But thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. And why am I not?
On this journey, as we all learn about, you know, these historical figures where we maybe don't know everything or don't even know of them, and we learn together.
I love it.
Celebrating them. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. All right, let's go move some mountains.
All right.
Yeah. humbly
move some mountains. And
challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Exactly.
So I feel like next week, are we?
Kim's
on mine. Yeah, we're on mine.
So we'll see y'all next week. Next week on Kim's.
All righty.
Have a great night. The rest of your night, everyone.
Bye.